Where would Batman be without his most trusted vehicle to always rely on, the Batmobile? So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another ranking of the Batmobile. I know there are many which exist, but I just had to get into it because, as many of you know, the Batmobile is a vehicle which is my absolute favorite. Now, there are many iterations of it and many versions that people like and many that some don't like so much. But what I chose to concentrate on, like many other YouTubers, are on the live action Batmobiles that exist from the movies that we've had the opportunity to see. Obviously, I'm taking things from the 1960s onwards, so not really counting the made-for-TV movies that came before. Without further ado, let's get into it. And ranking in at number 7 is the Batmobile from Batman and Robin. Now, on most YouTuber lists and most lists that I've come across, this always ranks at the bottom. But I want to point out that there are a few standout features here. If you take away all the over-the-top lights and design elements and just look at the basic frame and structure, it's a pretty interesting design, almost like a sports car look, a bit of a nod to cars of yesteryear in a way, at the time when this movie came out. And while the fins look a little strange, you could still sort of accept them. But the thing that most people point out to is that how impractical it is in terms of its length, the fact that the driver's section has no windshield or any protective covering. So from a crime fighting point of view, yeah, it makes it a little impractical. And obviously those lights are extremely distracting in many ways. I don't think there's anyone I've come across who actually likes those. So with all those elements being considered, this falls in at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is the Batmobile from Batman Forever. I did read and see in a few short clips that the design team took inspiration from deep sea creatures and from many elements found in nature in order to create this, and I think it shows. Unlike all the other Batmobiles, this really comes across as a creature of some sort, with the sort of like rib caging effect across, the front bonnet and across the sides and so on. And of course, let's not forget that enormous tail fin that's at the back, which apparently can split open, if I remember correctly from the movie. Saw it years ago, but I think that's what it does. But I think what takes away is obviously just like the Batman and Robin Batmobile, the over-the-top lighting effect, the hubcaps and so on. So that kind of pulls things a little down. Now, on some lists, I do often find this one to be the bottom of the list, but over here I can still appreciate a few elements, so this comes in at number 6. Alright, and coming in at number 5 is the Batmobile from Dawn of Justice. Now, obviously the Justice League Batmobile has a slightly different version with an extra gun mount and, obviously more artillery on it. But I'm just kind of coming and sticking to when we first saw this Batmobile, in its original form in the Dawn of Justice movie. And I think that there are so many interesting elements. In fact, one of the YouTube channels that I follow, Variant Comics, one of the hosts, in fact, pointed out very correctly, I think, and I would agree with him, is that this particular Batmobile feels like a cross between the Michael Keaton Batmobile and the Christian Bale Tumbler. So if you were to combine the two, this is what you would actually get. And I do agree. I mean, there are many interesting elements about it. It's a monster. It definitely feels like a Batmobile that Batman might use if it was the real world. And more importantly, I think that there are some, the panels and the way things, fit in together, make it a very dynamic sort of vehicle. But there are some elements where it feels a little too conspicuous, a little too large. And again, that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. But this comes in at number 5. And coming in at number 4 is the latest iteration of the Batmobile from the movie The Batman. A muscle car, something that looks absolutely awesome. I love this design, especially when you look at the rear end. It sort of has this sort of bat-shaped symbol, especially when the lights come on. And even if you look at the side profile, you notice the tip towards the tail part, it sort of goes up, symbolizing that sort of slight and subtle bat effect. But essentially, this is a Batmobile that, many feel very divided on. Now, some fans love this, some fans are not so crazy about it. But for me personally, I really like the design. I like that they went with this. And many have, in fact, clubbed this along with the 66 Batmobile, that it looks a lot more like a car, rather than, some sort of, esoteric machine that sort of is roaming the streets and so on. And something that isn't, very conspicuous, can sort of blend into the shadows. And then when time comes for it, like as we saw in the movie, the Batman can actually kick it into high gear, so to speak. So, with that being said, this comes in at number 4. And coming in at number 3 is the Tumbler from the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight Trilogy. What a monster this is. I remember when I first saw Batman Begins and that famous scene where Bruce Wayne is talking to Lucius Fox and then he says, "What's that?" And then Lucius says, "Oh, the Tumbler? Oh, you wouldn't be interested in that." And then we got to see it, and then we got to see it fully in action in the Dark Knight movie. Of course, many of us were heartbroken when the whole thing, just exploded because that bazooka hit. But obviously, getting that extra bike coming out the front end was really interesting. But overall, it is a very strong, warlike machine. I think it draws a lot of inspiration from the comic books, especially The Dark Knight Returns, and it sort of combines a lot of interesting elements as well. And I know many people who consider this to be their favorite Batmobile, and nothing's going to change their minds, and that's fine. For me personally, it comes in at number 3, but it is a top 3 for me, and I absolutely love this machine. A real monster in every way. Coming in at number 2 is the Batman 66 Batmobile. Adam West, Burt Ward, seeing these guys go down that pole, change into their costumes, jump into this gorgeous machine, and take off was something that I just could not get enough of as a kid when I used to watch the reruns. So for those not familiar, when we used to have, we still do, but when we used to watch TV shows and we used to see old shows, those were called reruns. So they would sort of, be syndicated at a certain time, and I used to love it. And this was my favorite element of it. I'm a car guy, so I loved watching this machine. In fact, for those of you, as I mentioned, who have seen my Jada Toy review, know for a fact that, I have a couple of versions of this. In fact, since I did that video, I've in fact finally managed to track down the 1/18 scale. And guys, for those who are interested, please check out Jada Toys. They do some brilliant reproductions of all these Batmobiles, so definitely have a look at those. I have in fact collected quite a few of them, and I would encourage you, for those who are collectors yourself, to have a look. But coming to the actual thing, this was I believe designed by George Barris, if I'm getting his name correctly, and it was a well thought out machine. All the highlights, all the practical gadgets, all the various elements that were labeled in it and so on. And as the season or the seasons progressed for the show, and finally the movie that was made with Adam West and Burt Ward and the entire Rogues Gallery, or at least the primary ones, this was always something that I used to wait for and just watch, and just to see what it would actually do. So that being said, it's a favorite of mine. Obviously not quite number 1, but definitely extremely close to being number 1. The Batman 66 Batmobile. And coming in at number 1, there could not be another Batmobile that could take this one's place. This is, to me, the definitive Batmobile. I know a lot of fellow YouTubers and a lot of other fans I know also feel the same way. We firmly believe that this combines the sleekness, the stealth, the car-like qualities, the gadgets, the persona, the vibe of everything a Batmobile should be. And I know many of you might, perhaps have a different favorite, but for me, the Batman 89 model was really it. This is a car that's completely gorgeous. And for those of you who are interested in collecting, I would strongly encourage you to check out my video of the Iron Studios 89 statue, which is available. You get it with a base and with a Michael Keaton statue which can fit on the side. So have a look at that video, and obviously check out Iron Studios and even Jada Toys for that matter, for those of you who would like to collect scale versions of this. But that being said, the fins, the effect, which draws from the 66 Batmobile with that famous tail end, fire-breathing exhaust pipe. And looking at it, especially, although I wasn't able to get it over here, but if you look at it from the top, just the shape of it, the shape of it from an aerial point of view. And I think that the Batman animated show, which I know is a much beloved show by all of us, many of us who are Batman fans, drew inspiration from that, So, in fact, I mentioned that in my Jada Toys review, so do check that out as well. But this is something that cannot be understated. It is, at least to many of us, the definitive Batmobile, as I said, and so therefore it's earned its place and has always remained as number one for me. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for checking out this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please let me know your thoughts in your comments below. Love to know if you have a different viewpoint, different list. What is your favorite Batmobile? Let me know, and I certainly look forward to reading and hearing from you guys, and look forward to talking to you soon. So take care and rock on.